Wednesday, February the 21st. Lake level's about 908 3/4. It's actually come up about 10, 11 inches in the last 24 hours. We've had quite a bit of rain. The water temperature, I'm going to guess, it's got real cold out today when that front comes through, but probably in the mid-40s. I got to fish quite a little bit this weekend, and I was at Bull Shoals, but water temperature should be about the same at Table Rock. Kind of getting excited because I think the fish are really starting to move. I think the fishing's really going to pick up and going to start seeing some quality fish in the next few weeks. But, down there at Bull Shoals, the water temperature was anywhere from 45, 46 degrees, as high as 49 degrees. And I fished tournament down there, had a pretty decent first day. I was in, I think, like 13th, and I dropped like a rock the second day. Fish changed, and I didn't make the right adjustments, and I didn't catch them. But I think I still finished in like 20th place or something. Then it's cooled down quite a bit, since then. But a lot of the fish that have moved up, and I really found them moving up as each day went on from practice throughout the tournament. The problem was I just didn't go the right direction, and I'll get with you here on that in just a minute. But with the rain and everything that we got, some of the first water that came into the lake should have been fairly warm, so there's apt to be some stained water and maybe a little bit warmer in the backs of the creeks. Depends what it does. The next couple nights, I think it's going to be cold tonight, but then it's progressively going to warm up again. And the weekend's supposed to be 60 degrees. Now, how I was catching my fish down there was, and I probably do the same thing on Table Rock, we weren't allowed to throw an Alabama rig down there because of the tournament that I was fishing. But if I was out here just fun fishing at Table Rock, that'd probably be my number one bait to throw to catch quality fish right now. And even at Bull Shoals, there were some tournaments going on where the guys could throw A-rigs, and there were several 20-pound stringers versus 16 to 14-pound stringers that was weighed in the tournament that I was fishing where you couldn't use it. So A-rig definitely catching bigger and more fish. How I was catching there was on a crankbait and a jerkbait, and wiggle warts. And I was going through a mixture of different baits. In practice, I was losing more fish than I was catching. Seemed like the fish were just bumping the bait, and when I would catch one, he would just barely have the rear hook. As things went on and water got a little warmer, the fish started eating the bait pretty good, and the same thing with the jerkbait. But what I was keying on, and I would do the same thing here on Table Rock, I was keying on the channel swings, but in the creeks, more so than on the main lake. I really struggled out on the main lake. I seemed like I had to be halfway to 3/4 of the way back in a creek where the channel swung up against it. Now, on the jerkbait, sometimes I had to be in like 30 feet of water, throwing up to the bank where it was a 45-degree bank or a lot steeper bank. The crankbait fish were extremely shallow. They were on the edges of the swings, on the points, and they were anywhere from 4 feet to, I never caught a crankbait fish much deeper than 6 foot. So I was trying to rock crawl quite a bit, but I think the rock crawler was, goes a little bit deeper than the wiggle wart. The wiggle wart seemed to be the best crankbait for me. And I also went to a Series 3 Strike King and caught some fish in practice on it. And I actually think some of them fish I could have caught on a square bill. But I wasn't thinking when I went down there I didn't have them in the boat with me. But the best colors that seemed to be working for me had to have some red in it. This original wiggle wart here, I think it's a V37. This seemed to be about the best color. But also this V38 worked for me. And another red and green. It seemed like the key for me, I know some other guys were probably catching them on different colors, but these are the 3 colors that I got the confidence in. And I think kind of where I messed up on the tournament is as the water was warming, I was getting bit further and further back into creeks. The second day, I could not get a bite. We had a big fog delay, but I could not get bit on the same type of banks. So what I progressively did was kept moving out further in the creek. And I believe what I should have done was gone further in and fished the shallower water. I talked to a couple friends of mine. Matter of fact, the guy that was leading the first day, he had caught them all on a jerkbait the first day. Couldn't get a bite, and him and I were talking the night before, and I told him how I was catching them on a crankbait. And later in the day, he made a move to the very backs of the creeks, the last little channel swing where it was like 8 to 12 feet deep. And in the last, I think 45 minutes, he caught 3 keepers and had a 4-pounder jump off. But I think where I made the mistake, I kept thinking as the bite was getting tougher, I had backed out. You know, I tried to fish a little deeper, I tried a jig, I tried a shaky head. But I know there was some fish caught in that 30 to 40 foot depth range, but I was trying to key on the same areas where I was catching the crankbait fish, just tried to back out a little bit. And make long story short, what I probably should have done was gone further into creeks. But like I said earlier, you know, I'm pretty excited about this time of year. The fish are on the move. And, you know, the biggest thing is not so much the water temperature. What to look for is if we have 2 or 3 consistent days, it doesn't have to be real warm, but, you know, 50-degree weather, the fish are going to start to move shallow, move to the bank. And a lot of the reason I like to key on the creeks rather than the main lake points, you know, there's a lot more fish out on the main lake, and they will migrate from the main lake back into the creeks. But our creeks on these Ozark lakes are so deep, it's like a lake in itself. So I believe the fish stay in there all winter. They've got plenty of food. And when things start to move, I think those are some of the first fish that move up to the secondary points and the channel swings. They don't have very far to go. Now, later, I think a lot of the main lake points, once the fish start, you know, a pretty heavy migration, the main lake points can be better because there's more fish funneling from the main lake back into the creeks. But this time of year, when things first start to happen, I like to key on the creeks themselves. It's a little bit less water. You can find out where the channel's swinging to the bank, where the points are. And like I say, those fish that are out there suspended in that deeper water don't have very far to go. And also the creeks normally tend to warm up faster than the main lake. So I think you'll see a little bit more movement there. I'm going to do another video later tonight with the guy about this new tag fishing. If you're a tournament fisherman, you need to check this thing out. It's a pretty neat incentive. And instead of having cash rewards from running a certain boat, this is just based on, you don't even have to own a boat. You basically register yourself. A lot of different tournaments are going to qualify for it. But if you get a chance, go to Table Rock Lake Fishing when we get that video put up, and it's TAG, T-A-G is what it is. Now we'll have some information about that. So till next week, good luck, good fishing. And we're also going to start doing fishing reports every Wednesday now that we're getting into the season. So thanks again.